the teenagers and the 20-year-olds are all into body composition and how they look. And then as you get older, the mom is trying to just get rid of the baby weight and just try to hold on. And then you get into the 50s and 60s and 70s, and it's all about keeping muscle mass for longevity and just, helping with the decline of health in general. And so I want to focus on, the women in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And I tell my young girls, because I have 3 kids and 2 of them are girls. I tell them, I say, you hold on to that amazing muscle mass that you have, because with every decade you lose it. And it's just a lot of work just to maintain it. So can we talk about the importance of strength and conditioning for women in their 40s and above?
Yeah, so basically it's a classic sort of scenario of use it or lose it. And actually, muscle's far easier to maintain than it is to gain. So that's something to always say. What you're saying to your daughters is absolutely right. Try and keep what you've got, because if you can maintain it, that's really the key. It's far harder to gain new muscle mass, to sort of stimulate the body to produce more muscle cells. It requires a lot of energy to fuel muscle, and therefore to tell your body to produce more muscle, it's a big ask. Your body ultimately doesn't want to be an engine that costs more fuel. It's trying to survive. And that's why building muscle is inherently hard for people, and it gets harder as we get older. So we've really got to fuel that. But where it's really key for women, so it's key for both men and women, but actually more so in many ways to women, is because especially when women go through the menopause, they can experience as much as 20% of reduction in bone mineral density, which is absolutely huge. And as we age, both bone mineral density, so the density of our bones, and muscle density, so the amount of muscle mass that we have, just starts to decrease. And therefore you're more at risk of osteoporosis. Osteopenia is the sort of precursor to that, where you're essentially what people might know as sort of brittle bones, where you're more likely to break your bones if you were to fall. So it's absolutely essential that we do resistance training specifically for this, because all that resistance training does is apply load to the body. So when we hold a dumbbell in our hand, that applies compressive forces or tension forces. So it's either pulling on the structures or it's pressing on the structures. There's also shear forces, which act like this. And all that does is it tells the systems within the body that they need more density to withstand these loads that they have placed on them on a daily basis. So the reason we have the density that we do is because we're under 1G. So one force of gravity. If we were living on the moon or Mars, where there was lower gravity, would have lower bone density. We wouldn't be as heavy as we are. Fish don't have as much bone density as we have because they're underwater. So we're under the force of 1G. And as we age, all that density starts to decrease. And the way to counteract that is to load the body. So the body doesn't know that we're just stood in a gym lifting dumbbells. All it knows is there's external forces that are being placed on the body, and I have to adapt to ensure my survival. So it's the same as when we go for a run. If we go for a run, the body doesn't know, oh, this person's just going for a jog. It's going, right, on a daily basis, I have to run, whether it's to escape from a predator or run to catch food. And therefore, my cardiovascular system needs to be better. So all that exercise is a way of stimulating the systems within the body to improve. Now, I always say to people that are, in the 40s, 50s and 60s, and sometimes this can be almost sound demotivating, is staying in the same place is improving. So if you're not getting weaker, so if you're, for example, doing a bench press and you bench press 30 kilos and that doesn't improve, then essentially you're improving because you're not getting weaker. Because unfortunately, we are on a downward slope as we age. We're decreasing. And therefore, the way that we maintain and, for the most part, increase when we do physical training is by loading the body. So loading the cardiovascular system and loading the muscles and skeletal system with external load. That's all resistance training is. We can do body weight training like calisthenics, and we can increase the intensity by increasing the mechanical load by doing a more advanced bodyweight exercise. But the easiest way to load the body, when we've got sort of 8 or 7 fundamental movements like hinge, squat, lunge, push, pull, rotate, and walking and running, the easiest way to load these fundamental movement patterns is adding load. And that can be with a sandbag, it can be with a dumbbell, it can be with a kettlebell, it can be with a barbell. That's simply what resistance training is, the progressive development of movement.